15 years and they have a lot of emotional agreements
Yes.
with people and things, and they're in a lot of habits. We only accept, believe, and surrender to information that's equal to our emotional state. So sometimes it bounces off the person, and if the person's really enthusiastic, then they're really like, whoa, what is up with, you're changing in front of me, I don't like you this way. We had a thing going here. We could pick apart anybody or anything. Now you're not showing up equal to my memory. You're unpredictable. You're in the unknown.
You're unsafe.
The unknown is unsafe, right? So a lot of times the enthusiasm is the first thing that starts creating disconnection. But if the person goes, that's amazing, that's really cool, say it again, like they're ready to hear the information, those people are going to evolve together, right? If the person just kind of looks and says, oh my God, my wife's on the Kool-Aid or whatever it is, this person is, they changed their medication, I don't know what's happening with them, then that person that is trying to explain it philosophically is just looking for someone to exchange information with. That person may not be the person. He may just like Sunday football games and Monday night football and hanging out and drinking beer, and they fell in love when they were the same, right? So now, the next step is to find the person that you can exchange that information with, because you want to understand it better so you can begin to use it. Now, you have to stop preaching to that person. That's the first thing you have to do. In other words, show up happy. Show up transformed. Be the example. And then one of two things will happen. I tell my kids this all the time. If you're happy, then that person is going to want to get some of that. And they're going to ask you, all right, so what the hell are you doing? Like, all of a sudden, you're like happy. They're either going to go, I want some of that, and they're going to evolve together. Now, if they don't, and then you come down here and compromise yourself to meet them on that level, they're going to take some of your energy, and you're going to be like, who am I?
Resentful, angry, all these things.
You didn't respond the way I wanted to. Now we're angry and we're back down here, right? But if you stay happy and they come up and they meet you there, then you're still happy. If you don't come down and you stay happy and they stay there and they move away, guess what?
You stay happy.
You're still happy.
Yeah.
So then people in relationships will compromise themselves out of obligation, out of necessity, out of obedience, out of programs, and at the end of the relationship, they don't even remember who they are because they compromised so many aspects of themselves.
This is why you hear in a lot of people when they go through a breakup, they're like, oh, I lost myself in this relationship, because and now I'm refining myself.
They were changing in a way that kept the relationship safe.
Why do so many relationships do this in general?
Because nobody wants to tell the truth. If you sat down and said, let's get vulnerable. Let's sit down, let's open our hearts, I have a bottle of wine, let's get vulnerable. Hey, I'm this. How are you doing? Like, what's really going on in there? Are you happy? And then be an adult. Like, you're unhappy, I'm unhappy too. You want to try to stick this out? All right, well, if I were to say, if I could get in my heart and I was looking at myself, these are the things that make me unhappy with me and that I want to change. It's not with you, it's me, what I want to change. And the other person said, listen, I'm stuck. I'm stuck too, I don't know how to change. I'm doing this, I'm drinking more or whatever. I got to stop. And it's important enough for me. This relationship is important enough for me that I'm willing to make the change, and let's figure out how to do it together. That to me. Or I've done this, hey, I can't feel it anymore. I can't feel that feeling anymore. I think it's time to move on. I love you, but I've changed, and I still love you, but I gotta go. I mean, it's just different. We don't have the same interests anymore. We've grown in different directions, and out of respect, let's do that together, right? So those relationships still stay fertile. They're still wonderful. You keep them alive, but they've transformed into something else. It's the not telling the truth about how you really feel, because it would make you vulnerable, and that may mean someone one-ups you, or you may get shocked or rejected in some way.
I think the place in my life right now, I'm 37, the thing in my life, in the relationship I'm in now, I'll tell my girlfriend often, I'm like, I'm so grateful that we're on this journey together. And there's cultural differences. You've been with a Latin woman in the past. There's cultural differences. There's language differences, there's belief differences, all these things. The thing that I tell her is like, listen, I want to be with you for as long as we can be together. If that's our lives, great. I'm committed to you. But I'm also committed to myself. And if we're not able to line up consistently over time, and if we're both suffering and we're unable to make it work, it's okay. We can break up. It's okay. And this is the first time I've been in a place where I'm okay with her and okay not with her.
Yeah.
And she
That's
is
healthy.
as well.
Yeah.
And so we were able to talk about these things from a healthy space, not needing it to work out.
Right.
Because we're not lacking.
Right, because of course, because you feel differently. You're using the love. Look. The truth is, if you truly are love,
Yes.
then you will be challenged always to a greater level of love. And I have had enough mystical experiences where I thought, you just can't have any more love than this.
Really?
Until I've had another experience and I'm like, wow, there's even more, right? So when in love, in a loving relationship, I have 3 children and I only want the best for them. That's it. So if you truly love someone and you want the best for them and they need to go, you gotta love them.
Yeah.
Just as long as it's they got that kind of clear agreement with each other. Like, I'm gonna go. I just gotta go. And yeah, it's gonna hurt, but that's if there's truly love, you would want that for that person, their best, right?
Yeah.
So then, it's not something that we do that is a recipe. It's trial and error. And I think the number one thing that I've learned over the years in any relationship, it's about awareness. It's about who am I being in this moment? How conscious can I stay? How am I speaking? How am I acting? What is the tone of my voice? How much more can I give? How can I forgive? If I'm having problems forgiving somebody, I would think about something that I may have done in my life that I would want forgiveness for, and I would think about how I want to be forgiven, and I would forgive that person in the same way that I would be forgiving myself. And in a sense, I am forgiving myself, right? So we have to see it as this illusion of separation, this illusion of three-dimensional reality. This is the plane where we demonstrate love. I mean, we came from source, we came from singularity, we came from pure love, and down into density, fooled by our senses into separation.
Wow.
And the survival hormones create more separation. They arouse us to put more attention on the illusion, on the objects, the hologram of three-dimensional reality, and we move further away from love. So fear is not the opposite of love, it's the separation from it. Anger is not the opposite of love, it's the separation from love. Pain, suffering is not the opposite of love, it's the separation from love. So then, as people heal into wholeness by learning how to create coherence in their brain and heart, the side effect of that, a lot of times, are dramatic changes in their health, and then more importantly, from that place, they could have been sexually abused, emotionally abused, physically abused. They will look at their entire past from that place and not want to change anything in their past because it brought them to that moment. And they'll see the lessons, and they'll have compassion and forgiveness because they're at a different consciousness. Only when you're unhappy with yourself, unhappy with your life, are you going to dig up the past and find the reason why you are that way. And 50% of that story isn't even the truth. You embellish the story to make it sound so hard that nobody can change. Well, I can't change. It was way too hard. And the research on memory is, majority of time people are telling a story that isn't even the truth. To me, they're reliving a miserable life they didn't even have, only to reaffirm their emotional state. So you catch yourself in the midstream. You know, you catch yourself talking and feeling that. You catch yourself, that's a victory. To me, that's a victory.
Right. It's because you're going to be in reaction.
Of course.
We're going to have feelings and emotions.
But you asked me, so I react. Yeah, every day. Right. But I get better at it. And I always say, okay, if I was in that same circumstance with that same person, I got the same or similar news, how would Joe Dispenza show up more evolved? If I don't know the answer to that, I'm going to find someone who had a similar experience. I'm going to read what they did, and I'm going to rehearse that. I'm going to rehearse it in my mind so much so that I'm priming my brain for the experience. Now I want it to happen so that I could, it's not about being right, it's not about being, any of those, it's really about my evolution. So then that victory to me creates more wholeness.
Yeah.
And so that more wholeness means I'm less lack in separation. If I'm less lack in separation, then I'm relaxed in the present moment. And that's the beauty of being alive, is that we want the moment to last. We want to be so present. It's so good. We don't want to leave it. So love, people want love, but what's the sponsoring thought behind that? They want joy. That love brings them joy.
Before we continue this video, make sure to subscribe below and turn on the notification bell right now so you don't miss out on these great videos every single day.
People want abundance, but they don't really want abundance. They want freedom. That's what they really want. They want to be able to do whatever they want. They want to have freedom.
Yes.
You know, people want a mystical experience. No, they want to be blown away. They want to feel awe. They want to be in awe of life. People want to be healed. No, they want to be whole. They want to feel wholeness. They want to feel whole again. So if you're looking for the reason why you want certain things, you want it for an emotion. The emotion is the payoff from the experience. It's the payoff. And then we get to experience it with our senses, and it's greater than we imagined. And I'm telling you, when the reality starts organizing itself to reflect your energy, and it starts showing up in your life, what kind of feeling do you feel when you start seeing those synchronicities? You feel excitement, joy, inspiration. That's the energy you're going to use to create the next one. And so people in our work, you know, this is the thing that I'm proud of.
Synchronicities happen daily when you're
because
in that
your energy is synchronized.
Yeah.
Your energy is synchronized to a future. So the future that you're seeing in your mind before it happened and emotionally embracing, so much so that your brain and body look like it's already happened. Well, if it looks physically like it's already happened, relax, because it's going to come to you. So then people in this work do the work every day, and that's the thing I'm the most proud of, not because I want them to do it out of obligation or to please God or do the right thing or whatever else, whatever the programs have been for thousands of years. They don't want the magic to end. They just like, I don't know what this is, but I'm having these incredible lucid moments. I can't believe I just got this opportunity, and wow, this is happening. And every synchronicity does what? It creates the energy and the belief that there could be more, but they're not trying to control it. They're not trying to predict it. In fact, it's none of their business how it happens or when it happens. If you can predict how it's going to happen, that's the known.
Yeah.
The unknown is like, I'm so happy, I would never try to control it. I'm not going to leave the present moment. And that's when you're the vortex, you know, to experiences. And so that's the difference between creating as source or praying as source or creating or praying to source. Separation is begging, trying. Now, you are connected. You feel divine.
You feel you are the source.
You are connected to source.
Yes.
And so this place is the bridge to that. Once it's here, then there are emotions and energies and frequencies that are just ineffable. That you can't describe how much love that is, or the feeling that you feel.
Do emotions create thoughts, or do thoughts create emotions?
Both. So think about this. Some people wake up in the morning. Your brain is a record of the past.
Yeah.
The first thing they do is they think about their problems. Those problems are memories that are etched in the brain that are connected to certain people, certain objects, certain things at a certain time and place. The moment they wake up in the morning and they think about their problems, they're thinking in the past. If you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, well, you're already in your past. Every one of those problems, since we've experienced it, has an emotion associated with it. So then all of a sudden, they start feeling unhappy. The moment they feel unhappy, now the body's in the past, because thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. So now that once they go, oh.
Say that one more time.
Thoughts are the language of the brain, feelings are the language of the body. So the moment they start feeling those feelings, now their body's in the past. So now they get back and they started off with a clean slate, they didn't feel anything, and then they're like, whew, I'm back to feeling unhappy. Okay, I'm back to myself again. So because they'd rather feel unhappy than not feel anything. So naturally, the void of that emotion is influencing, the body's influencing the mind, the brain, to think, so it produces the chemicals for it to feel. Some people just wake up in the morning and they don't feel anything, and then all of a sudden they just look for that feeling. Some people need a thought to do it, some people can just bring up the feeling, right?
Wow.
So then they cling to that emotion because at least it's the known. So some people have emotions that influence thoughts. Some people are more analytical. They have thoughts that influence feelings. But it's a loop, right? It's that cycle of thinking and feeling.
What's the formula to get out of that quickly? Keep mentioning the formula, like there's a formula. If that's happening, and I know we've had thousands of people that go through your books and your audio meditations. I think you have some new ones coming out here soon, and they've been to your workshops, which I think, go to the workshop because it's going to be a game changer. I can't wait till I can go, but
I keep inviting you. Guess what? You can't come anymore. You're not allowed to come.
I'm coming.
No, you can't come now. So maybe this will get them to come.
Exactly. Now I'm there. What is a formula, like a 1 to 2 minute formula, when someone notices, oh, I'm feeling something, and then my thoughts are supporting that feeling, and I'm just staying in this loop? What's the 1 or 2 minute formula that they could just implement in the morning, at night, whenever, to help them?
Well, I'm going to give you 2 examples, okay? Because there's not just one way to do this.
Of course.
So, if you're truly in the business of change or creating your life, that's a big responsibility, right? I mean, like we ran our event. I said to the audience, okay, nobody forced you to come here, right? You came here on your own. You took the risk in coming here. By coming here, you also agree that you create your reality, that you're responsible for yourself and your life. So if something happens to you, you can't blame anybody because of that. It's your responsibility to take care of you, right? So then the fundamental question is, and I ask myself this all the time, at what point do I stop believing that I create my life? At what point? When things go bad, then all of a sudden I didn't create that. That person is doing it to me, right? So if we can wire that in our brains, right? That our reaction and response to an environmental condition is causing us to go back to the past. That's what the emotion is. The familiar emotion is the past. And I'm on the journey and I catch myself doing that. If I'm truly in the practice every day, and I can cultivate a feeling, not on the spot then, that you're not prepared. Your meditation is the preparation of mind and body for this. So I don't get up from my meditation until I'm in love with life. I don't create anything that's going to be unlimited until I feel unlimited.
And I'm in that space.
And if I'm practicing feeling unlimited every day, I'm connecting to the emotions of my future, I'm out of the bleachers and I'm on the field. If you're in the bleachers and you're trying to not react to people in circumstances, you don't have the practice or the skill set on how to create that emotion because you haven't been practicing creating it. And why do we close our eyes and do it? Because the environment is so seductive. Why do we sit still and not move? Because you're going to want to get up and pee and eat and have a cup of coffee and feel. So now you're telling your body, hey, stay. I'm going to feed you. Yeah, you're going to take a shower. You're going to get coffee. You can play with your cell phone. Right. You can text. You can talk trash. You can do anything you want. But right now, you're not the mind. I'm the mind. And you're going to sit and stay till I'm done. And when I condition you to the emotions of the future, and I get a very clear image of who I'm going to be this day, and I'm not going to get up until I feel that way, I guarantee you're going to come up against all those unconscious thoughts. They're going to come up right there. I want them to see it. I want them to become so familiar with it, so conscious. If they wouldn't go unconscious, they wouldn't let that thought, I can't, ever slip by their awareness unchecked. They've done the work in the beginning of the day. They suppress those circuits in the brain, and nerve cells that no longer fire together, no longer wire together. You're breaking down the old personality. And so you say, your body wants to get up, I got to pee, I want to have a couple, I want to check, and you watch your body want to get up, and you go, hey, stop. Get over here. You get back into this present moment, and every time you do that, it's a victory. You're executing a will that's greater than an unconscious program. And most people lose their free will to a program because they do the same thing today as they did yesterday. Their body's on autopilot, and it's dragging them into the same future habitually based on what they did in the past. So now you're sitting there, and it's just a little uncomfortable, and you want to quit, and your body, and you go, no, And you get over here and you bring it back. Now, some people say, I can't meditate, but really, they're actually doing it right. That's a victory, too.
Yeah.
And then you do that and you start watching how you're training your body back into the present moment. Then your body says, well, you know, Lewis, it's 8:30 in the morning. This is usually when you watch the news and throw a tirade and get angry.
Right.
And you're sitting here with your eyes closed and you're off schedule. So why don't we just get agitated about anything? So the body starts trying to create images in your mind, so you remember your ex, you remember your problems, so you could feel that agitation. What if you watched your body do that and you said, no. I'm not going to give my power away to the past or that person or that circumstance in my life. You get that body back in the present moment, you lower the volume to that emotion, that's a victory. You're telling the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. Now, that kind of work is tedious in the beginning, but I watch people because when I have them do that, it starts stretching their boundaries. Mm-hmm. The known self, that little box, starts to move into the unknown and they survive. And all of a sudden they're more relaxed in the present moment, the unknown. And they start feeling more satisfied. So now they're more ready to create. So the preparation for the day is to remind yourself of who you no longer want to be, to know thyself, to become so familiar with, the word meditation means to become familiar with, so conscious of your unconscious programs, you're not going to go unconscious. Why? Because you did battle today with that personality that's creating the same personal reality. And if your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel, and you want to create a new personal reality, then you got to change your personality. And that's going to mean then you're going to become so conscious of those unconscious programs that you're no longer the program. You're the consciousness observing the program. Disentangling from that is not easy. That's why most people won't do it. That's why they get on their cell phone and say, let me just create a little dopamine by just seeing if I got a text from somebody I like. Now your phone's over there, and you're no longer regulating with something outside of you. This is game time. So then if you said, what thoughts do I want to fire and wire in my brain? With my attention and my intention, I'm going to make that the loudest voice in my head. And if you keep firing and wiring, that hardware is going to become a software program, and it's going to be a new voice.
Right.
You installed it. No magic there. And if you said, hey, listen, I sucked yesterday with my staff meeting. I was off. I want another shot at it. How would greatness show up? School of Greatness. Yeah. How would greatness show up for the staff meeting? I got another shot. I got 10 fingers, 10 toes. I'm alive. My heart's beating. I didn't fail. I got another shot today. All right. What do I know about myself that I can do? The act of closing your eyes and rehearsing who you're going to be
so powerful.
Is installing more hardware. The brain's going to look like you already did it. Now it's no longer in the past. It's primed for the future. Keep doing it, and it's going to become a software program, and you're going to start looking pretty great. People are going to go like, wow.
Feeling great.
You're going to demonstrate greatness.
Yeah.
Well, but there's no magic there, because you're going to think, what is greatness? Okay, I like what this person said. I like what that person said. I like what I read here. I love my experience of when I've demonstrated. And the frontal lobe is going to create a beautiful, beautiful understanding of how to evolve your experience. And when just no different than learning how to dance, learning a sport, learning lines if you're an actor or an actress, a musician, you rehearse all the time. And the rehearsal is actually priming the brain for the experience. So now your brain is ready for the day. It's different than just going, I'm not going to react to my boss. Well, you haven't done the work to come up with how to overcome that. And then what did you install so you have raw materials to use? Now here's the hardest part. Can you teach your body emotionally what it would feel like if you arrived at your future? And can you say, I'm not going to get up until I feel that way? Now this is good work here, because you'll have to come up with that emotion and get beyond the shame, the guilt, the unworthiness, the pain, the suffering. And this is battle. This is battle, because your brain is going to keep going to something that's going to want to make you feel that way. Then the analytical mind is going to say, you can't do this, it's too hard, why don't you quit? And that's where everybody stops. But right on the other side of that is love. Right on the other side of that is gratitude. Right on the other side of that is freedom, right? So then if the person's willing to go a little further and practice a way to do that, and they could get in touch with that emotion, and they can feel it. And when I feel it, I always say, And usually when it's really good, I say, remember this feeling, memorize this feeling, memorize it. I want to
make a snapshot of that feeling.
I want to know, I want to be able to bring this feeling up on command. So I'll let it go, and then I'll go back and say, let me see if I can do it again. Why am I trying to do it again? To remember. Remembering is creating the circuitry to be able to produce it again. It's going to become a skill. Now, I have something to walk into my condition in my life where I'm reacting. And now I have a plan. I've primed my brain and body to the future instead of the past. I've suppressed the past.
Yeah.
So now I'm closing my eyes, disconnecting from the environment, overcoming my body, not thinking about the predictable future, the familiar past and time. I'm in the present moment. I'm ready to create. Why? Because I want to present myself to the world as an evolved version of yesterday.
Real quick, before you go to next, I hear a lot of therapists will mention we should not suppress emotions. I'm hearing you mention just there suppressing the past.
No, I would never say suppress. I would say, at what point are you done feeling that emotion?
Gotcha.
You want to keep feeling
feel
it. Go, you're not doing anything wrong. You're just taking too long. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to not feel emotion. I feel emotions, but again, I'm just going to move through them. I'm a super passionate person. And if I'm going in, I'm going all in. I'm not going halfway. But when I feel and I can catch myself, that's pretty cool.
Gotcha.
Because now I can change it. Nothing is doing that to me. I'll feel it. I'm not sitting there going, I'm not doing that. There's no tool set there. I'm steeping in the emotion. That's not it. I am saying, okay, I'm angry. In this moment in eternity, Joe Dispenza, what do you got? What do you got? This is a moment you're going to remember, because people who heal, people who have transcendental moments, people who break through, people who have the wealth, the freedom, when they look back at their life and they see all the days they chose themselves to show up for their meditation, when they look back at those past moments, they're not looking back at the easy meditations. They're not falling in love with the person who had the good they're falling in love with the person who sat in the fire. They remember those moments where they were like, I didn't give up on me. I believed in myself. I believed there was something on the other side of this feeling. I stuck with it. And all of a sudden it starts to change. And for some people it takes a little longer than others, but they're on it. And so then when they look back at their past and they see all those times it was hard, and they went a little further, they're going to fall in love with that person. And now their future self, who's already transformed, is drawing their past self to them in love. That's how reality is.
So our future self in the future, or in the
there's
moment?
a future you that's already exists. You just got to get there. And he's in love with you. And the only way you're going to get there is by you being in love with you.
And being in love in the past.
Yeah, but so then what is love then? So then people think they confuse love with pleasure. Like a manicure or shopping spree, that's not love, that's pleasure. And the more whole we are, the less need for pleasure we have. You sit in the fire. I watched 1,025 people last week transform themselves. In the beginning, I was trying to find the door. I was bouncing off them, I just wouldn't quit. And then they started doing the work. They came up against themselves, they got frustrated, they got impatient. I kept reminding them, their brain's going into high beta, their arousal is driving them further out of balance, and they started tempering the animal. And I took them a little further, and they sat through the fire, and all of a sudden it wasn't about the mystical experience, it wasn't about the wealth, it was about learning the formula.
It wasn't about what they wanted.
It was about overcoming themselves. They're learning the formula on how, in that moment, if they could just relax and keep practicing, that little box begins to expand, and now there's more room for them to relax in the unknown. I've stretched them outside of the known, and they survived. And I keep stretching them, and all of a sudden, they're more present. And so they wanted to come to the edge in the next meditation and go a little further. It was no longer me saying you gotta go. They wanted the edge. They wanted to see what was standing in the way between them and their new relationship, them and their healing. What was that thing that I want to remove? I'm going to, if not now, when, right? So they wanted to take it on because they forgot about their cell phones. We did it during the week of election, so nobody would care about us. They didn't care about the election. They didn't care about any disease. They were immersed, and they retreated from their lives. Now, back to your question. I guarantee you those people, when they face circumstances in their life now they're ready for their environment. In fact, they've lowered the volume to so many of those emotions. When people lash out at them or do things, they're going to go, oh, come here. Are you hurting? Get over here. I'll give you a hug. Not like, oh, they're not going to do that. They're going to be like, come here. I love you. Get over here. Are you okay? It's just there's not that anymore. They're kind of ready. So the formula then, to answer your question, is brain and heart coherence. And when you're in stress and you're in survival, when you're in danger, the arousal of the stress hormones creates a heightening of our senses, and we become materialists, and we narrow our focus on the material world, and that's reality now. And when we start trying to control reality and predict it, and we have the perception that things are getting worse, all of a sudden we're shifting our attention to one person, to another problem, to another thing, to another text. And every one of those things, there's a neurological network in the brain. So the arousal of the stress hormones causes the brain to start firing incoherently. And now there's no energy in the brain because the incoherence is diminishing energy. It's waves that are canceling each other out. The brain goes into like this quiescence of no activity, but very little performance. So then we said, okay, let's teach people how to take their attention off of everything known in this memory bank of the known self, the autobiographical self, the artifact of the past. Let's teach them how to go from a narrow object focus on anything material that's known in this three-dimensional reality to broadening their focus, to putting their attention on energy, nothing, space, and going from a convergent focus to a divergent focus and opening their focus. We started noticing that the brain started to synchronize. The different compartments started to unify, and the brain started functioning in a more holistic state, and the person started feeling more chilled, more poised, more clear. And what sinks in the brain links in the brain. So you start seeing this kind of integration. And we can call people on the stage now, and I can say, would you show the audience on a brain scan how to go in the gamma? Give me 1 second. Boom, they go right in the gamma. Can you show them how to go into alpha coherent brainwave patterns? Give me a minute.
Is alpha like negative state, or
alpha is like that creative state.
When
the brain starts slowing down analytical, processing.
Okay. So gamma is what?
It's like super consciousness. That's the big stuff. Yeah,
that's the highest level that your brain can go into.
Yeah, it's a kind of a very fast frequency, but our gamma frequencies that we record in our work is so coherent. Like, let me see how I could say this. When you're in beta, right? We're in beta right now. Your brain is busy integrating all this information. What I'm saying, what you're feeling, the temperature in the room, the lights, your back, everything else. Your brain's got to figure all this out. It's got to create meaning between what's going on out there and what's going on in here. If I said to you, Lewis, I forgot to tell you you're going to take a test today, you would perk up a little bit more, right? The light bulb would get a little brighter. Yeah. It's mid-range beta. But when you're in high beta, that's when you're really, really out of balance. When you're angry, when you're frustrated, when you're impatient, when you're vigilant, that's the brain is in a very, very heightened state, and
that's high beta.
High beta.
It's when you're in a negative state.
Yeah, exactly. You're in survival, and people don't think they can control that, so they start analyzing in that state, and they make their brain worse. They get overly focused, overly analytical, and now you got to get beyond that analytical mind to get into the operating system to change those unwanted habits and behaviors. So when you disconnect from your environment and you close your eyes and there's less stimulation coming in, we play music in the background, you're not eating, you're not smelling, you're not tasting, you're not feeling, there's less sensory information. Naturally, this mechanism starts to slow down, and so there's less information, and you go into alpha, and you cross the analytical mind. And what separates the conscious mind from the subconscious mind is the analytical mind. So now, you're suppressing the analytical mind that's saying you can't, it's too hard, the voice goes away. And in alpha now, we're not looking for any kind of alpha, we're looking for coherent alpha. So as they open their focus and they sense space, the act of sensing and feeling causes them to stop thinking and analyzing. So you start seeing energy leave the neocortex, right? If they do it really well, then the body starts to fall asleep, or it feels so comfortable that it can rest in the present moment and let it almost fall asleep, and you're still conscious and awake. Now you're in theta. Now that's a hypnotic state.
Your body's like vibrating almost.
Yeah, the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is wide open. It's very programmable. Very programmable.
What should we be saying or thinking in
You're not doing
state?
anything.
You shouldn't be thinking
Now,
anything.
the formula is when you sense, we do this naturally when we go to bed at night.
Yes.
But now we're just taking you down the steps so you know the terrain, how to get there. In theta, when you're in that state, you can reprogram, you can rewrite the program. It's easier because you're out of this thinking brain.
So we shouldn't be thinking to reprogram, or just
You won't be thinking, you'll be rehearsing.
Rehearsing.
You'll see yourself doing something.
What should we rehearse?
Whatever you want. What do you want? You want to be an excellent handball player?
Right.
You want to be the top? You got to rehearse.
So you visualize what you want to create.
Yeah, you imagine. But it's better to do it when your body is very relaxed, or better yet, you forgot about your body. That's a better way to say it. Yeah. So then when that theta happens, people are usually sitting like this looking at the television just before they go to bed at night. They're half awake and they're half asleep, and they're telling them you need a flu shot. They're telling you you need this drug, you have this problem.
Eat this food, yeah.
It's going in, the analytical facilities are in the back seat. They're getting programmed to make that choice. They're getting programmed in some way. So they're suggestible to information. So now, you could be suggestible to your own auto-suggestions or information that you would want to rewrite as a program. So if you said in alpha or theta, I'm not happy with how I did with my kids today. I need another shot at it. And you're relaxed and you're present and you start reviewing how you're going to be with them. I guarantee you start installing hardware there.
Right.
You start rewriting the program, and you're so present that you can go through it. Then you go through it the next time, it's a little easier.
Yeah.
You go through it the next time, it's a little easier. You go through it the next time, your mind starts to wander, you catch yourself, you come back, you do it again. Well, what are you doing? You're rewriting the program and installing it, firing and wiring. Right? So you can't do that in beta because you're too distracted, right?
It's the daily practice of mental rehearsal in that state, which allows you to manifest and attract it to yourself.
Exactly. So
whether that's a relationship, whether that's the career you want,
how about the art of life?
Yeah.
I mean, relationships, job, whatever it is. Like
money,
like
whatever.
People always go to the things that are easy. Like in our work, we pick the ones that you don't want to look at. We're going to go for that first because we take care of that. The rest gets easy, right? So then when there's an integration and people are in theta and they know how to regulate, then something crazy happens. So then when that door opens and their eyes are closed and they're not getting information from the environment, not from the TV, and you teach them how to tune into frequency and energy, and frequency carries information and they're in theta, and the brain starts to process in latent systems that energy and that frequency and transduces it into a mystical, profound experience in imagery. The arousal that takes place in the brain is gamma. They're having a very full-on sensory experience, but not with their senses. In other words, whatever's going on, it's more real than you and I sitting here, right? So imagine if your senses were heightened right now by 50%. Everything you're seeing, hearing, smelling, your awareness of the environment would be heightened, right? Awareness is consciousness. Yeah. So now we see these coherent alpha patterns lead to these coherent theta patterns, and these waves are so orderly that that wave of theta is a carrier wave. And then here comes gamma. That energy just bursts up into the brain from the body, the gates open up, and the arousal is not fear. The arousal is not pain. The arousal is not aggression and anger. The arousal is ecstasy. But here's the deal. This is alpha. If we had 100 people in the room and we were doing this, pretty easy to clap like this, right? That's coherence. We're rhythm, and that's good. Then if we went in to theta, it would be a lot slower, right? There's very little neocortical activity, so it's easy to create coherence there. But when you go to gamma, it's like this. Now, try to imagine everybody, 100 people doing that. This is how orderly the neurons in your brain are. They're clapping so fast, and they're all in rhythm. So how would you describe that kind of orderliness except bliss? How would you describe wholeness? What is it? I don't know. Love. Whatever that is, that arousal is so outside of normal. It's not a little bit of gamma. It's not a lot of gamma. It's not a lot of gamma. It's a supernatural amount of gamma. It's way outside of normal. Now that person is touching the divine. That person is touching that unified field. Their consciousness is merging with the consciousness of the unified field. There's no separation. They are connected, and the arousal, the interaction with that energy, they're taking something with them. Yeah. And sometimes there's a biological upgrade. There's the eczema, it's gone. There's the Parkinson's, it's gone. There's the blindness, it's gone. There's the deafness, it's gone. There's the stage 4 cancer, it's gone. It's an immediate biological upgrade. Now, the energy now, to finish this, is not in the neocortex. Lights are out here. You're gone. Lewis is gone. There's no longer an identity called Lewis. The inner world is profoundly real, and the autonomic nervous system, the midbrain, the limbic brain, that's controlling all your automatic functions. When you're in stress, that autonomic nervous system is dysregulated. It's out of balance. Now you're getting so much order, so much rhythm. That autonomic nervous system's touching every single cell in your body, every tissue, every organ, every system, and it's jiggling the cells, and the cells are getting new information coherently. And so you see the person get a biological upgrade. Now, you can only talk around this. You have to have the experience, but people who have the experience will have the biggest smile on their face because they'll realize it was always available to them. So the fundamental question is it worth it? That's the real question. Because if you're willing to make those changes every day before you start your day, and you have this kind of arousal coming from within you, I guarantee you won't be looking in your outer environment to find those feelings. You'll be looking within you.
Creating inside, yeah.
And so in stress and in survival, most of your attention is out there. When you leave a week-long event, something amazing happens. You're paying more attention in here. You're paying as much attention in here as you are out here. You're not so seduced, right? So then, as you begin to become, you know how to get beyond your body, your environment, and time. The formula is, the moment you dissociate from everything known, the moment you dissociate from everything material, the moment you can relax into the present moment and the brain starts to synchronize, is the moment you become pure consciousness and you are in the present moment. You're in the door to the quantum field and the brain gets highly organized. Okay, so now we have a coherent brain, and the coherence in the brain starts to resonate with different frequencies in the field, and when there's an octave, when there's a harmonic, the brain starts processing information, right? But they're suggestible, not from out there, but from the field. That's frequency. But the brain has to be coherent to pick up the rhythm, the frequency.
Right.
If you're incoherent, you got static. In other words, you got no Wi-Fi signal. You're a piece of matter with no field, right? So then that sends the signal out, coherent brain. But what's going to draw the experience back? Our heart, right? So then we practice then every day, cultivating the emotions and being able to sustain heart coherence. Now you combine those two, and we have beautiful, beautiful brain scans and heart scans to show the dance between the two. And now you got this kind of, your heart is speaking to you. I don't know how else to say it. You're not getting information from the news, you're not getting information from your Facebook. You're not getting information from your cell phone. That information is just equal to what you're willing to believe. But when your heart speaks to you because there's a resonance between the two, it's going to tell you exactly what's right for Lewis.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be what anybody else tells you. You're going to know. So that means then when you're in certain situations and something doesn't feel right because your heart is tuned, the brain thinks, but the heart knows. And so when you start getting in this compass, when you start navigating here, when you start practicing this and you start feeling, you are going to see the world through another lens. So then back to your question. If by chance I'm knocked out of balance, I will know right away, oh, I lost the feeling. So then in the beginning it may take longer, but as you start evolving your experience every day, you want to get better at being able to, a great day for me is that when I am locked in And no person, no circumstance, no condition in my life is moving from the emotions of my future. And it could be challenging and hard, and I'm willing to go the distance because the next day there's always a little magic.
Yeah.
Like I've earned the right for the experience now. I've been initiated, and I overcame some of those things, and I will see them as having less control over me. So that means then when the synchronicities happen, when the serendipities happen, when the opportunities show up, I'm no longer believing that I'm the victim of my life. All of a sudden, I become more aware that I'm the creator of my life, right? And so then I respond less to the environmental circumstances. And if I respond less, then the environment no longer weakens me. And if I'm no longer weakened by my environment, then I would be immune to my environment.
And you could create a lot better from a place of a powerful immune system, a powerful environment, a powerful thoughts. You can create from that space better than a weakened environment.
Exactly. But here's the weird thing. The weird thing is that people are no longer creating material things. This is weird. They don't want, you think that you want them, right? But when you start doing this work and you start...
You don't need it.
You're just happy. Imagine being so happy with you that you don't want to be anybody else.
And you don't need anything to make you feel better.
You don't need anything else. You're just really cool with everything, right? I mean, that's a good place to be. And when you no longer want, you're no longer trying to control your life or predict it. Wow, the game changes a little bit.
You know, it's interesting. I live in this, kind of really fancy condo building nearby here. And I got it because it's really convenient. It's close to this office space. It's got great views of the mountains, the golf course, all that stuff. But I'm probably the least fancy person in this building. I mean, it's every type of exclusive car you can think of. And every day, I literally smile getting up and going out of the building because I have a $200 scooter that I take to work, that I scoot past these Ferraris and Lamborghinis and McLarens, whatever these cars are. I'm scooting past all these owners of these cars, and I'm smiling.
Of course.
I'm so
You're free.
happy.
You're
I'm
free.
just like scooting. It's not even electric. It's a push scooter.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy with this moment. I don't need, not that it's, if you want to have cool cars and fancy stuff.
Do that for a while. Do it for a while until you outgrow it. Yeah.
It's fun too, and it's like nothing against it. And I want to have nice things, but I don't need it to feel happy.
Right. So that's a really important thing because people build an identity by, becoming some type of body, having some type of body, knowing someone or being someone, owning some things, living somewhere at some time. And the identity then is identifying with everything material in the three-dimensional world. And all their attention is out there, but you want to hide the divine anywhere in a human being, the best place to hide it is within them. They'll look everywhere else for it. Wow. So then when you start moving closer towards it and you start feeling more whole, then the scooter is just a signature of what you love about life, your freedom. So
fun.
the Porsche and all those things become an identity. And when you become possessed by your possessions and you can't get beyond them to create because your identity is so steeped in the three-dimensional world, it's going to take crisis. It's going to take trauma. It's going to take disease. It's going to take diagnosis. It's going to take
break
loss.
through from that, right?
No, it's going to for a person to finally go, what's
wake
more?
up.
Yeah, what's more important, right? So when you feel so off, you feel so altered that no sports car, no shopping spree, no meal is going to make the feeling go away. Now this is when the soul's going, hey, wake up, because now nothing out there is going to make this feeling go away. What are you left with? For the first time, you're no longer responding to your texts.
Right.
You're no longer checking all your emails. You're no longer posting. You're no longer going out to dinner with the same people, listening to the same stories. You're breaking all those agreements.
Right.
And now you're looking at yourself because you feel so altered that you can finally see yourself like someone else sees you. You're observing. Now, that's when you begin to objectify the subjective self. That's the moment you're disentangling from the program. My message is, why would you wait for that? Why not marry a clear intention with an elevated emotion every day? Instead of going to your lowest denominator to see yourself, go to an elevated state. And from an elevated state, look at the old self and be so conscious like, okay, now I'm up here. So you practice the meditation as a rehearsal for game time. And then you open your eyes and now it's game time. It's not like I did my meditation, you're on the freeway and you're flipping people off or judging your coworker.
Now you got to show up.
You got to show up and you got to demonstrate it now. You primed your brain and body to demonstrate it. Now the game changes.
Yes.
Now it's instrumental, right? So then when you have that kind of understanding, and you can get in touch with what that is, you'll know the moment you lose it that something is not right. So from an elevated state now, you could look at the old self, and the moment you start going down, you're like, I lost it. But you don't have to reach that low place. Why not do it every day so that when you start noticing your energy dropping, you'll get better at it. And this is not positive thinking. This is creation. Because if you can maintain that modified state of mind and body your entire day, get ready, because weird stuff's going to happen all around. You're going to be like, and this happens all the time, people say, I'm not doing anything. Oh my God. Of course you're not. You don't have to do anything. You are the vortex.
You're allowing.
It's coming to you.
Yes.
It's coming to you. So then when that person overcomes themselves and they're sitting in the fire, it's no longer pleasure. It's no longer, the need for gratification. They're just in love with themselves. They're satisfied with themselves. Now, when they're in love with themselves and they can allow others to be however they want, then the side effect of that is called joy. Joy is the absence of the torment of those emotions that keeps the body unhappy.
So allowing others to be what? Reactive or angry or happy?